Is drinking water in the United States actually safe? Most people would say yes, and they're not wrong, but the real answer is a little more nuanced than that. You've probably heard people say that tap water in the US is some of the safest in the world, and honestly, that's true. The US has a massive system of regulations under the Safe Drinking Water Act, and public water systems are required to meet strict EPA standards. Water is tested regularly, treated at multiple stages, and monitored before it ever reaches your tap. So yes, your water is treated and regulated. It doesn't just show up at your tap by accident. Here's where it gets a little more nuanced. Safe doesn't mean that your water is free from contaminants. It means those contaminants are below legal limits. And those limits are based on what's considered acceptable over time, not necessarily zero. That's not really what most people mean when they hear safe. When you start looking at the data, things get a bit more complicated. Millions of Americans have been exposed to contaminants like lead, PFAS, and others through drinking water. In some cases, water systems have even violated federal standards. And there are thousands of chemicals in use today, but only a small fraction of them are actually regulated. Which means there are gaps, both in what we test for and what we fully understand. So while the system works in many ways, it's not perfect. So what do you actually do with all this information? This might sound like a recurring theme in my videos, because it kind of is, but it really comes down to awareness. Most people never look beyond turning on the tap, or avoiding it altogether and reaching for a bottle of water. But once you start paying attention, you'll realize that there's more to the story, not because your tap water is bad, but because it's not as simple as most people assume. Once you understand what's actually in your water and how it can affect you, it becomes a lot easier to decide what you're comfortable with, instead of just assuming everything is fine and moving on.